Good morning, everybody. I'm walking outside. I have to go do some errands, and I'm listening to the second Republican primary debate that happened last night in California. And I just heard one of the most interesting questions that the moderators asked to one of the candidates, and I just heard the stupidest answers. I'm going to play it right now.
Mr. Ramaswamy, according to Customs and Border Protection, about 90% of fentanyl is seized at official border crossings, and 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens. How would you stop fentanyl brought into the country, mostly by U.S. citizens, through ports of entry?
There's two sides to this, and we have to be very honest about it. One is we do have to seal that southern border. Building the wall is not enough. They're building cartel-financed tunnels underneath that wall. Semi-trucks can drive through them. We have to use our own military to seal the Swiss cheese of a southern border. But we also have to be honest. There's a demand-side problem in this country, too, a mental health epidemic. I met family in Iowa. Two parents, Kathy and Derek. They lost their son, Sebastian, 17 years old. He bought Percocet on Snapchat, and then he died. Why did he die? Because it was laced with fentanyl. That is closer to bioterrorism, not a drug overdose. That is poisoning. So it is our job to make sure that never happens. But it's also our job to make sure that 17-year-olds don't turn to Percocet via Snapchat. We have to bring back mental health care in this country, not with pumping pharmaceuticals, but with faith-based approaches that restore purpose and meaning in the next generation of Americans. Many of them are getting it through social media. And this isn't a Republican point or a Democrat point. But if you're 16 years old or under, you should not be using an addictive social media product, period. This is something that we can both agree on, and we can revive both the mental health of this country while stopping the fentanyl epidemic that will kill more people this year than who died on 9/11. And I refuse to be a passive bystander sitting in the White House like the hollowed out husk of a current president we have. We will step up and address this problem to stand for Americans and our children.
President encouraging TikTok. Quit encouraging TikTok.
That is why, everything he said I agree with. That is why, as Commander-in-Chief, I'm going to use the U.S. military to go after the Mexican drug cartels. They are killing our people. And the stories that I've seen, in Florida, we had an infant, 18 months, parents rented an Airbnb. And apparently the people that had rented it before were using drugs. The infant was crawling, the toddler was crawling on the carpet and ingested fentanyl residue and died. Are we just going to sit here and let this happen, this carnage happen in our country? I am not going to do that. So I guarantee you on day one, this border is going to be a day one issue for me as president. We're going to declare it a national emergency. Yes, we'll build the wall. We'll do remain in Mexico. But those Mexican drug cartels are going to be treated like the foreign terrorist organizations that they are.
Now, y'all heard that. That's actually a very interesting question. How do we stop the hundreds of thousands of Americans who die every year from fentanyl overdoses when the majority of the fentanyl that's being brought into America is coming in from U.S. citizens who are crossing the border legally with their passports? Very, very interesting question. And that answer from Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron Desantis just reminded me how stupid America is. Because when we face problems that require some pragmatism, Americans' reactions, especially on the right and the conservatives, is let's invade Mexico. Let's grab the guns and shoot up the cartels. Like, what is wrong with America? Like, can we actually create some policies where we don't just resort to militarism? It's insane. Now, some people might say, okay, the people that are U.S. citizens are the mules for the cartels. They're being either paid or extorted to traffic the fentanyl that kills so many Americans every year. That could possibly be true, but that doesn't change the fact that actually the people that are bringing drugs into America are other Americans. My biggest issue with American politics, whenever we see an issue, we look at it like a nail and all we have is a hammer to put it in. All we know how to do is reply with force, reply with militarism, reply with the idea that our guns and our money can solve it, rather than actual policies that are actually better for people. Fentanyl kills hundreds of thousands of Americans every year, and there's a very good video by Visual Politic talking about it. Y'all go check that out. But we have to do something to stop the number of overdoses that have happened, because so many people are losing their lives to this. And instead of thinking outside the box of some sort of idea of making this a better country for everybody, instead we just want to rely on the guns to solve our issues. It's really silly. Of course, I was watching the Republican primary debate, so of course everything they say is going to be silly. But I just really wanted to talk about that question because it was very interesting. So many Americans with U.S. passports cross into Mexico and go into different places to pick up drugs and then bring it back. And our response to that is, let's invade Mexico and hurt the Mexican people. Insane, insane. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I'm out here in the mall here in Budapest, Hungary. Got to do some shopping and things like that. So I'll catch y'all later. Peace. By the way, I realize that most of this video was a complaint, and we should not just complain, we should also provide solutions or other ideas. So this is my solution or my idea on how we can help solve the fentanyl crisis. Number one thing that we need to do is have free universal health care for all Americans. Most other rich, powerful nations like the US have that for their citizens, but we don't. The majority of the people who are addicted to fentanyl were once on painkillers. They can no longer afford their prescription or the type of morphine that they were taking to deal with their pain, and now they're addicted to it, so then they resort to street drugs like fentanyl, and that's causing a lot of the overdoses that are happening across the country. But when we talk to Republicans, and what do the conservatives say about free universal health care? Hell no. Hell no. So that's why all these guys are just talk. They just talk. They talk, they talk, they talk. It's a mental health crisis. It's a health care crisis. But ask the Republicans, ask the conservatives about what to do about health care, they're going to say, let's privatize it. Ridiculous.